Let's talk about 2018, Jason. It was a magical year. It was the year that MedMen opened its first retail dispensary in California. The first couple of them, I should say, calling itself the Apple Store of Weed. Its clean-cut, brightly lit store interiors with light wooden showroom shelves and cannabis displayed in glass housings stood in stark contrast to most of the gray market Prop 215 shops that came before it. Adam Bierman, MedMen co-founder and CEO at the time, was the cannabis industry's first Uber Chad, and he never quite fit into what existed before his arrival. He had already built an insider reputation for alleged shady business tactics, allegedly using racist and sexist rhetoric, among a lot of other things he'd soon be sued and forced out of his own company for. But 2018 was clearly the beer man's year. The fact he looked like a quintessential white boy stockbroker that went straight from the frat quads to middle management at his daddy's firm meant the retail bet that he was making on a federally illegal industry was worth more than Malik, Jose, Keisha, even Becky's. And the white boys up north, they found that his game was looking quite familiar, and they awarded him with a $3 billion valuation as MedMen IPO'd in Canada. The Chad era in cannabis was ever the same. But just like 9 out of 10 other mainstream American businesses fronted by people who look just like Adam, with more confidence in their resumes than actual experience, the cracks would soon begin to show. And no matter how many 7- and 8-figure rounds of rescue funding were thrown at MedMen by deep-pocketed daddy figures who wouldn't even think to support Black or brown-owned businesses with deep-seated community roots, in the end, it was never enough. Because late Friday afternoon, Jason, Presence Incorporated, the company once hailed as the cannabis industry's first unicorn, announced that it had filed bankruptcy in Canada, citing 561.5 million Canadian or 410.4 million American dollars of liabilities months after the company's stock plunged to $0.00 a share. And all its executives departed despite having sold off all the assets to raise cash. Though the announcement came Friday, it officially filed on Wednesday, citing current financial conditions and the inability to pay debt. CFO Amit Pandey and each of the company's board of directors resigned before bankruptcy proceedings began. According to Seeking Alpha's reporting, last Tuesday, the company placed its U.S. unit, MM Cannabis USA Incorporated, into receivership in the Los Angeles Superior Court to facilitate the liquidation of its California-based assets. A statement by the company said that the decision to close operations and start bankruptcy and receivership proceedings was made after careful consideration of the current financial condition of the company and its subsidiaries, their inability to pay their liabilities as they become due, and the anticipated enforcement actions of secured creditors. And MedMen spiraled over the past several years as troubling financial reports began to leak. And although MedMen's run as a company might be done, the lasting effect of the house built by Bierman lives on. Adam walked so the Chads today could run. See, back in 2018, the idea of nationwide social equity conversations being CFOs like Curaleaf and Trulieve never would have taken place. Look at us now. We're all here thanks to Mr. Beer. Everybody, a true one of one. So if you got one to spare, please put it in the air. For MedMen, this week but never forgotten. May you forever be the Trump Organization of Weed. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for I9 News.
Man, oh man. So I'm wondering how this proceeding is all going to shake out, because you mentioned bankruptcy and you also mentioned receivership. and MedMen is a Canadian company, so they can file for bankruptcy. But
yeah, they went bankrupt in Canada, but here, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
they're just selling off. Are they selling off the tables, the copiers, the staples, and then it's just done?
I mean,
yeah, in the U.S. they have to go through the receivership process.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they're plant touching.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how's that going to play out for them if they're filing bankruptcy in Canada and then going through a receivership process in other states?
The receiver in the U.S. will be in lockstep with the bankruptcy court, and I'm certain that the way it goes is depending on when you put money in, how you put money in, how it's secured. There's an order in which the creditors get paid back, and so the bankruptcy court up in Canada is not at all beholden to whatever's going on in the U.S. unless there's some document that was introduced in Canada, that requires that. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, because the majority of what MedMen did was it bought a bunch of high-priced real estate. That's all going to be secured. So we'll see, what's left to be distributed. I'm guessing nothing.
Yeah, that would be my guess too, Jamie. 100%. They're going to distribute a whole big old nothing sandwich to a whole bunch of nothings.
And what do you want to bet that a lot of those executives have positioned their unpaid bonuses and things like that in first position? Yep. So you'll still see more raping and pillaging, is my guess.
But wouldn't creditors be the first one in and out, like as far as like taxes and municipal agencies and stuff like that?
Taxes are always at the top.
Yeah,
the government always stacks the deck that way.
However, the board has liability for taxes in Canada.
Oh.
The way the Canadian rules work, if you sit on a board of a Canadian company and the company doesn't pay the taxes, the Canadians will go after the board members.
Interesting. I remember the story that we covered before. I want to say a few months ago. They were already positioning themselves for this, right? And the interim CEO, he had done this like 3 times, I guess, or like a bunch of times in mainstream America for other corporate. And he was literally just brought in to sell off all of their shit, make as much money as possible, and get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then they do the typical glass cliff move. Did you see? I mean, I'm sure you all saw that, the glass cliff move. They put a woman in charge.
Yep.
And then who gets to take the fall? So like, the CEO, she's been there for 6 months. So she's the one that everybody's going to associate with the demise of the company. But she stepped into a mess. She didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. She definitely stepped.
She's a firefighter. She can't be blamed for the burning building. This thing's been a fire for a really long time. And so the only people who would be able to reasonably blame her are people who are incredibly ignorant to the slow motion decline of MedMen that has happened for so many years. She's probably. I'm sorry. You go.
There's technicality, Yarrow, and that's that. If you have a company that goes bankrupt when you're listed as the CEO, that means that the person who lit the fire doesn't have the bankruptcy on their watch, essentially, on the paperwork. So it is a very strategic move to put somebody else in to resign when you see the buildings burning, when you lit the fire, and then you tap someone to take the fall. She's going to have a hard time getting another CEO position because of what this is going to do to her record. And that's, Harvard Business School studies these glass cliff cases, because it's one thing to have a glass ceiling where it's hard to break into the leadership. It's a whole nother thing where they put women and black and brown people on the edge of the cliff where they know, the fall is coming. And then, they look benevolent. Oh, we put a woman in charge. We put a black person in charge. No, they put them there to take the fall and to have that black mark on their resume.
Isn't she experienced and sophisticated enough to know that she was going into a burning building if she's only been there 6 months?
So you weigh she was a senior vice president. you weigh your chances. I mean, think about it. This is the glass ceiling issue where you go, when am I going to have a chance to run a publicly traded company as the CEO? I mean, she's going to get that on her record regardless. It's an opportunity. I mean, even if you come in and you go, well, maybe I've got a shot, maybe I'll go raise some money, maybe I can, they're giving me a chance. I get to have those 3 letters behind my name. It's a tough position to turn down when it's probably not going to be offered to you in any other circumstance.
Man, I wonder if it's better to not take it in lieu of, just because you are going to basically be catching all of the arrows in your quiver.
But Jason, you got to think, like, if you are black, brown, or a woman, that period. So like, do you take it and run the risk that they're going to go under? Like, they're going to go.
There's no way that they're not going to go under. That's what I'm saying.
But here's the thing: do you ever get that experience and you can never to make a lateral step?
I mean, I guess if you think that you're Tom Brady and you're going to be like the comeback king and you have like an actual plan to try to bring them back or get them into some type of, huh?
Tom Brady was a white man, so that's a poor example for you to take.
Oh, God.
It is.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Why is it not?
It's not.
Means
Tom Brady was a white male.
It has nothing to do with his race. It has to do with the fact of him being a comeback type of guy.
You give me another black quarterback round and have the same chance.
I don't pay that much attention to football to give a shit about any of that.
See, well, they use a different fucking example.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm using Tom Brady. 100%.
So you guys, the concept of having a chance to succeed is one thing, but where racism and sexism really rears their ugly heads is the fact that we don't have a chance to fail. Right? So the reality is, if you come into this position and you do your best and you do a great job because you were handed a pile of crap, and you actually are able to make progress that nobody could actually see because all they see is the pile of crap, right? But maybe she came in and did a whole bunch of good things that people that aren't on the outside looking in would even recognize. The fact is, she gets the big L on her record, and that's what's hard to recover from. But where you're the Adam Bierman, you took $25 million off the table, your company goes bankrupt. Guess what he's out doing?
Raising money.
Round 2.
Yep.
He's got his next venture.
Yeah.
Because the big L doesn't stick to him, because women and people of color don't have the luxury of coming in and messing up and going, "Oh, I learned from that. Now I'm at round 2." Round 2 doesn't materialize when you mess up. So it is a tough decision. I was in her shoes when the CEO of Bang decided very abruptly to step down, and the board asked me if I would step in as interim. I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, I get to be CEO." I was thinking he would come back, and I was just helping my friend out while he was going through something, and I thought he would come back. I didn't. And then I was trapped in that job because there was they couldn't find somebody to take it because everybody's like, "Oh, that's a steaming pile of shit. What am I going to do in that job?" So I had to just do the best I could. I mean, it worked out. When I left, the company was out of debt. The company was doing great. What private equity's done with it since, I don't even know what they're doing right now. But the reality is, it's a tough call when you're her or when you're somebody being offered that shot. It's tough.
And on that, we got to roll into a commercial. We're going to be right back.